Hi, today I am going to be reviewing Lions. Lions is the story of a 5-year-old kid in India who loses his way and separated from his family. He is adopted by Australian parents, and as an adult, he tries to find his way back home. I haven't even heard of this film. I didn't have any expectation for it because I didn't even see a trailer. So I had no idea what the story was about. Nothing. And I was surprised to actually learn that it was a true story. So I found it very powerful and highly emotional film. However, it's a little uneven. So let's start by talking about the subway things that I liked about this. So there are three things. First is the cinematography. This film is beautifully shot. It has so many gorgeous visuals. The way India is portrayed in the streets, and also the way Australia is. And there is a lot of emotional and highly tense close ups. We feel the characters' anguish. However, my favorite thing about the photography is that in all the 5-year-old voice scenes, the camera is below, and it feels like the movie is from the perspective of the 5-year-old, and result that was very powerful and very effective. It really helped me emphasize with the situation, which is what made the first half is still highly emotional for me. I was really touched by it. So this boy, he was running trying to figure out what to do. I felt that anxiety for him. I felt fear for him, compassion, and I think that most of the is due to that of the style of the cinematography. So not only did the term look gorgeous, it also serves a lot in terms of helping the fluff and helping the story of the emotion of the story. Number two thing is I liked about the lion performance of the child actor. The category of youngster who is portrayed by a child ethical funny Paulo, there's it's just something magical about finding a young child who act really well, who feels natural. There is a certain magic there, like lightning in a bottle. Okay, it's definitely present in line. He's really good in the film, and you believe him, and you completely connect with him. You don't feel like he's a child character or child actor. You never feel like he's over the top or cheesy. There are so many subtle and beautiful nuances, even though he's just a little kid. He's still a brilliant actor, and he's the highlight of the film for me. Another one, the beginning, and then this one begins in such a beautiful and highly emotional rate, which when you watch the character get separated from the family and get lost, and what he have to do to survive on the streets in a city where he doesn't even speak the language. I felt like the film was trying to tell me more about the plot of young Indian children in a big urban cities who get lost in the streets and turn into beggar, or God knows what else. It was really powerful. I felt that message come through, and I really emphasized with it, and it really touched me emotionally. And I thought it was so powerful. Also sets up this whole journey for this character, where he gets lost and separated and tries to survive. And you know that you need a payoff for from that, you need a favor for he survived, and he finds his way back home. So instead of a really big player, a really big important goal for the character which keeps you hooked in the film. And then we reach the ending of the film, where all of these things that were set up before need to be resolved. The resolution was just so beautifully done and so amazing, magnificent. The payoffs of definitely worth the wait. You are so emotional. I cried like a baby. So this was very powerful. I think that's very commendable, and I especially want to mention that the last couple of minutes of the film, I never say what happened. The last couple of minutes of this film are so powerful. They end the film on a gigantic high note and give you with such emotion when you leave the film, that no matter what happened towards the beginning or whatever flaws that the film actually had, the ending really grabs you and really finishes love it. very nicely. I also really appreciate it. But the film actually shed light on the young and lost children of India, and it takes you to a website where you can find out more how you could help those children and help the causes of the lost children and the homeless children of India. And I thought that was very important, and I really expected that as emotional and powerful this film was also uneven, and it had a bunch of flaws. So I'm gonna start talking about them in the top three things. I'm like number three, the soundtrack. I hope the subject was not up to par with the emotional level of the film. I felt was a little under motion, was more effective and more memorable. A lot of times it's all rehearsed and generic, like itself like an Oscar best soundtrack. When he expected the strings to happen, that happened. But if the pianos came, and he never felt that it was part of the story. I never actually felt authenticate or organic to the film. So a lot of times I feel like it was forced, and a lot of times I felt like it wasn't even necessary. So I wasn't a big fan of the soundtrack of this film. I Second thing I didn't like about The Lion was Act 2. The film starts out really, really high, and then in the middle of the film, it just dips down, and then it ends really high again. So it's kind of like it doesn't little things. The second act of the film, like it didn't even need there. There was a lot of mopping around, and I didn't really like the character of this fatal. Not that this performance wasn't good, it was good. It's just the way the character was written. I was not really strong. He was mopping around and I didn't know what he wanted to do with his life. So I never felt like the catch his conviction to try to find on. There was a lot of first world problems, and even though his problems is not a first world problem, so I really got a problem with it. I didn't connect. I felt bored and I thought disconnected. So basically I felt like the film started somewhere, I needed to get somewhere, and in the middle it becomes a feature length film. It was absolutely unnecessary in itself. That way it also really slowed it down in terms of pacing, because when we first started the film, we had this trajectory over in the middle of the film. The trajectory doesn't know what he wants to do. It feels like a little stuck, and we got stuck with him as well. So the film becomes stagnant and loses its trajectory towards the goal of the film. I didn't like about Loyan is the love story again. In most of these biopics, I always feel like the love story is forced. They are like, we have to give the main character something to do because he is so aimless. Now we have to introduce a love interest and have to have a relationship, and you have to have problems, and then they have to have a fire, and so boring and uninteresting. I don't care. I didn't care about one character. I didn't buy their relationship. I didn't understand what their conflicts or why they were arguing. I'm tired of having all those love stories showed in my face just to be real like there. So we don't need it. So the love story really felt like a waste of time. What I was convincing or not, it wasn't just convincing. It's not like was just buying time. I was bored with it really, and it really took me out of the film. I completely lost interest in those things. I wish it wasn't there. So it was uneven. So I did enjoy it a lot, and I thought it was powerful film. So with a powerful message, with a really nice performance, and that's why I'm going to give Lion a 8 star. So if you have seen it, let me know what you thought of it in the comment section, and as always, like, share and subscribe, and don't forget to ask me for anything else you would like me to review for your next.